Greetings! Welcome to the Devlog for Experimental Build 2 of Update 111 of Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades. We're going to start off as always with a quick sound check. Make sure speakers aren't up too high. Wonderful. So what have we got for you this week? Well, this week was another huge cartridge update thanks to Stefan. So we are nearing the end of everything that isn't a shotgun cartridge or something super weird that is getting replaced. So check the changelog for all of those. But for the stuff that is really fun to show off, I have a new gun, a new cartridge to go with that gun, and a new strange operating mechanism. That is why I only got this gun functioning without bugs about 5 minutes ago. So I give you the AG42B. This is a Swedish rifle from World War II, as the 42 would point to. And this was one of those ones that I was like, oh, the cartridge is neat. I want to put this in at some point. And then I actually sat down and did some research on this and went, oh, this mechanism is really strange. And it took some even stranger code contortions to get this working right. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're actually going to start with an empty magazine here and pop this in. So as you might be looking at this. I only realized it honestly when I imported the model. I was like, wait a minute, where is the bolt handle? What is going on with this? My mind immediately jumped to, oh no, the artist forgot to model it. I was wrong, they were right. So the way this works is that it has this top cover that you can drag around here, and we are on safe currently. The way a bunch of things on this behave depend on whether it's on safe or fire. And the way this works is that we grab the top cover, we drag it to the front like so, it grabs onto the bolt, pulls it back to here, and locks it back. This then allows us to take several clips like so and fill it up. What we then do is when we switch it back to fire, you'll notice that it pushes the top cover just a little bit forward, which makes it convenient to grab and pull back, which drops the bolt like so. Let's clear our target there. Wonderful. Beautiful. And then it locks back as such. Now, you don't actually have to do the whole put it onto safe and then do that and put it back to cycle it. That's simply the manual of arms. And the reason for that is that apparently this is one of those like hand destroying weapons. If you get your hand caught in this, if the bolt drops on your hand, it's going to take a finger off. And so if we were in a take and hold match and doing this real quick, I mean, we'd just be swapping full mags here. We'd just be dropping a mag out, popping it into here, and then you'd grab this and go slightly forward and then back, and then that would. But obviously weapons, magazines are expensive to produce compared to clips, and so that's why I imagine when these were actually fielded, each person who had one was probably only given 1 to 2 magazines, and you'd always be topping up with clips. But even then, you don't even have to pull the second clip out. You can just go like that, and it ejects the clip. Like so. So, beautiful little piece, fun piece of history. It's one of those things that I rarely implement new weapons that are very close to an existing weapon, like this is a closed bolt receiver, but have some new piece of operation, because anytime I do, I risk introducing bugs to hundreds of guns, especially if you include all of the mod guns. So it tends to be a very nerve-wracking thing for me to do these types of changes, but every now and again I kind of remind myself that like that's how this project started. Like H3 at its core in the beginning was about like doing interesting implementations of interactions in VR and making them feel good and seeing what is it like to operate a gun like this. And so I kind of have to kick myself in the butt a little bit and be like, no, that's part of the point. Oh yeah, we're in safe, go to fire, blammo. wonderful. What a cool piece. And obviously another battle rifle in the sort of World War II era set. So that'll show up for that character in Taken Hold, which anytime there's an opportunity to get a new cool battle rifle, especially a less common one like this, I love to jump at it. So I hope you enjoy this piece. Just so you know, the implementation isn't 100% done on this. I still need to make the sight adjustable here. This is a knob that can cycle between 100 and 700 meters. I didn't have time. I was going to do that this morning, but this thing had so many corner case bugs, and there's still some weird stuff that can happen with it. Like if you put the clip in like this and move the top cover, obviously the clip can move with it. I need to actually adjust that so that doesn't happen, so it properly ejects the clip if you try to push this too far forward, so it doesn't look too goofy. But yeah, that is what we got. Cool. Well, let's jump out of VR and talk about the other changes that are present in this update and what we're testing. Yo! So, out of VR, what else is in this update? There are a bunch of back-end changes to Taken Hold that are in progress. So what that means is that score submission is disabled for now, because I'm beginning to play and tweak with scoring and build new back-end APIs to hook into events that occur over the course of a Taken Hold run. So a bunch of what is in this build specifically is a change that is oriented towards trying to make sure that there is, how to put this? There are two audiences for Taken Hold in a big way. There's the competitive players who are playing right at the upper band of the score, and that the game needs to be balanced for, so it isn't just random, the randomization isn't interfering with scoring peaks. And then there's everyone else who plays Taken Hold who's not in that upper band, who wants enjoyable variation in things. And so there are a number of timing intervals in Taken Hold in the hold phase that are randomized within a narrow band. Like whatever some timing constant is times random.range 0.8 to 1.1. And so that this means that there's a slightly unpredictable number of waves and enemies in certain contexts. And while this is fun, and this is in the spirit of a roguelike, it isn't necessarily appropriate for competitive play. And so rather than making it have to be one way or the other, I have hooked this toggle between that being randomized or not into whether you have selected a seed manually at the top of the Taken Hold options menu. So if you're in the default, which is what most people play, random seed, it will keep the randomness that has always existed in the game that gives you that variability in a hold. But if you select a specific seed, what it does is it clamps that value to whatever the sort of minimum value, the shortest time interval for that value is. In a sense, it slightly raises the difficulty by taking the easy to hard range and just going like that to it for those spawning intervals. So this should make it so that in many cases at the super upper band of scoring, assuming two people are equally excellent, it will be their performance in terms of time and speed that always assures that difference in that final value, and not some random.range call in H3's code. So that is in there. What else? That's been disabled. Cool. A bunch of internal fixes for the way that SOSIGs track damage done to them and how they've died. Any of you who've played Taken Hold have probably noticed in the past, looking at the final stats for a run, you're like, melee kills? I didn't get any melee kills. What's going on? I finally solved a pernicious bug that I didn't quite understand why was occurring in the past. That is now fixed. That damage type for a given SOSIG should now be tracked correctly. In terms of content, we have replacement cartridge models now for 50 BMG, 12.7 by 108 millimeter, 13.2 millimeter TUF, 76242 SP4, 76238 rimmed, 38 rimfire, 41 short, 44 Henry rimfire. Huge thanks to Stefan for just tearing through cartridges this week. I've got some new ammo subtypes for you. For 50 VMG, there's now M903 Slap and M965 Slap T. I think those rounds were pretty obscure right up until a particular YouTuber almost blew himself up firing a slap round out of a gun that I don't think was rated to fire a slap round. But they are now just about the most penetrative rounds that are in the game. They're pretty ridiculous. I might have to tune them further to get exactly the performance I want out of them, but a bunch of the math is right. The final results we'll have to see. But they're appropriately ridiculous. The M2 Tombstone now has a muzzle attachment point. Don't know why I never put that on there in the past, but you can now put an enormous suppressor on that if you wish. Yup. And then, yeah, I made some changes. I made some changes to closed bolt weapon system to accommodate this week's gun. For those of you who mod, don't use them yet to make something, even though I don't actually know how many other guns work this way, if any. But that system is still not. I got it. I was like, this is bug free enough 5 minutes before I started filming this devlog. So it is not quite ready for showtime. This is an experimental build. Don't build anything with it until this update hits full release. Yeah, and then just some various clipping bugs were fixed. Some random edge cases and stuff that folks suggested. So as always, I super appreciate all of the detailed bug reports that you folks post on the Steam forum and in the Discord. It makes this process so much better. And when you've got a game like this that has over 500 firearms in it, I assume we'll just be finding little tweaks and things to improve and things to fix forever. So it's always a work in progress. So yeah, so that is this week's update. The work continues on the take and hold level. I just don't have anything exciting to show on that. In part, mainly, I don't want to drip feed too much preview content for the take and hold level because I really want people to have an impactful experience with it and be like, man, I didn't know this was in here, sort of thing. So I'm playing that close to the chest and mainly entertaining you folks in the meantime with new weapons and little iterative changes on the take and hold systems so that when it's time to actually drop the level, you can all be like, and such. So I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend playing with our new AG42B, and I'll see you next week. Peace.